Or I think we have audio. I think we have video. How's it going, everybody? It's a little bit after 5 o'clock. I'm running a little bit late. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. Welcome to Slay Security Plus PNPT Takeover. My exam starts on Saturday, so I had a really good job interview today. An interview unlike any other I've had before. And then I went from that right into prepping, right? Prep. So let's go here. I hope everybody's doing well out there in internet land. I'm going to make sure that we're live. Got a few different things going on, cooking on the desktop, so bear with me while we work through some of this. Yes, I do believe so. It says we are live. It says there's a couple of us watching. That's awesome. That does my heart good. There we go. There's my ugly mug there on the screen. How is everybody? I hope your Thursday is treating you well thus far. Mine has been treating me pretty good. I cannot complain. I feel like I'm in go mode, showbiz mode, like I need to be on camera. Relax. I was in interview mode for a minute, explaining and talking. It was awesome. I'm going to sign into our chat here. Hey, Jess, what's up? Oh, just hanging. Just relaxing, MedNG. It's good to see you. Hi, 573-918. I'm going to give everybody a chance to kind of fill up, and I'm going to get my text situation squared away. So just bear with me while we get rolling. Courtesy of, I almost want to say it, Slay Security Plus sponsor, but community member and Jawjackin host, DJ BSEC, sponsoring Slay Security Plus with our very own stream depth so we can up the ante in upcoming streams. I want it to be set up really, really well. So I have had not time because I have been preparing for interviews and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. Hey, thank you, Diamond Danita 1543. Good evening, Haircut Fish. It's good to see you. Hope you got our messages, my message earlier. We are live. Let's get the questions dialed up on Vivox. We're going to go into some quizzing here soon. Little update on where we're going today is we're going to wrap up domain 2.5 with some of the live quizzing, which is completely anonymous. You just got to sign up to the Vivox app, and then from there, really it's just scanning a QR code, jumping on, and doing some live study. We keep it completely anonymous so that it defeats imposter syndrome. You can throw your answer in because truly the whole point of all this is to get you through your Security Plus certification. And here's why. You're showing the stream as offline. It says we are live. Oh no. Let's get through those technical difficulties here, folks. Oh, there we go. I'm on YouTube. I'm feeling all right. AJ and AZ, what's going on? First timer live to the Slay Security Plus. The whole goal of this, and I've talked about it before, is I want you to spend 3 to 4 months starting from domain 1 to domain 5 of the Security Plus. When I got here in cybersecurity, I found there was an overwhelming amount of both good and bad resources for Security Plus, and so I said, I'm going to give back at every stage of my journey, and in doing so, hey, listen, I'm just like a lot of you. I'm still seeking full-time employment. I'm still within my first couple years of IT security and cybersecurity, so really, I'm not that far ahead of any of you, right? I'm still out there throwing in applications. We're in the same boat. But I said, from the experience that I do have, the knowledge I do have, which is Security Plus, I'm going to make it my mission that people can slay it, get it out of the way, because it's a back pocket cert, right? We all know that we need it to get through the hiring. And what I want you to do is get your Security Plus, build some mentorship for the 3 months, 4 months that you're here, however long you want to stick around. And then I want you to go and pay it forward, right? I want you to get that certification and start doing the home labs, hack the box, whatever it takes to do the work, volunteer. You want to get some real work experience, volunteer. So enough about my soapbox. Some of the resources we use have been sponsored. We are sponsored by Mason SC, which we will talk about here in a moment. And some of the stuff I paid for with my own money, like the Security Plus book, the Professor Master Practice Test. A lot of that has been paid for by my own cash. We're not a monetized channel, nor do I ever intend really to be one. This is just a way to get you through that Security Plus. Let's go. At the end of my interview today, I was swaying in my seat, getting pumped up. The hiring managers were probably like, what the heck is this guy? I was talking about the passion, about just getting out there and doing the work, man. Not sharing my screen. That's good. Because be logging into my password manager there. If you're curious, I use what I think is one of the better ones. I like 1Password. And so I found it to be pretty stout. I like its system where they keep track of your personal recovery key, or they do not keep track of your personal recovery key. So if you forget it, you're out of luck, which I like that. Let's get these questions dialed up. The passion is why I'm watching your stream. Thank you. And I want it to be contagious. Both all the hiring managers thus far said it can be contagious. It can be a little bit. It can be kind of annoying if you're not ready for it, right? But I went in head first into cybersecurity, and I haven't looked back. Okay, I got questions dialed up. Let me check my virtual box. I do have some live labs dialed up. Let's get the right, make sure I'm here. Test this. There's our Professor Messer. If I switch to virtual box, can we see that? Does it change to the Kali Linux? All right, just a little taste of what we'll be doing. After we answer some questions in some of the live stream, we're gonna switch into a home lab that I've put together. Let me see if I can find it here. There we go. Oxben, benjaminheater.com. I want you all to take note of this. I would link it in chat, but I'm still working on getting my chat system set up. Just look up benheater.com. Head up to his website. He's got a phenomenal home lab. He's a he's a senior penetration tester with a well-known security company or a security company in the landscape. And he builds really, really good home labs. And I'm not just talking virtualized home labs. He's stepped it up, and he actually has, the actual hardware architecture, servers, firewalls, gateways. And so he walked me through this lab. It's really straightforward, okay? I really enjoy it because I think that it simulates a real world if you're an offensive security professional, GRC person, or even if you're a blue team, right? This lab, building home labs, what it does for you. I know you came for the questions, but I'm just pumped, right? What home labs do for you, and capture the flags to an extent, but what home labs do, if you do a good one, is they help you understand networking. You can really see cybersecurity kind of from the get-go, right? Because the first thing you do is set up a firewall. And now it's not fun to have everything on the same subnet because, well, that's easy to hack. It's just like jumping from domain to domain. So I put multiple VLANs, right? We've got our Kali on a different VLAN. We've got an external vulnerable web server that's also attached to an internal Active Directory, which we'll use as a pivot box. Not all this tonight, but that is the process we're going through, okay? So let's find this lab so you can see. Hopefully I can get to it without getting too much. He does a PJPT or a PNPT study group that is absolutely phenomenal. Hack the box, CTF. Let me do this, fam. Let's go here. We're gonna go, I have it here even better, don't I? Is that my notes? There it is. Okay. This is where we're gonna be working out. This is what our network looks like, right? So I hope you can see that. So these are not the same IP addresses because it's different. DHP works a little bit differently, but what we're gonna have set up today, and I'm not gonna walk you through this setup, that could be for a different video or do it on your own, but most home labs will have your Kali box on a subnet or a VLAN, right? That's just natted to your system. So network address translation, translate that on your own system. And then you can hack your little domain, Active Directory domain. And there's nothing wrong with that because it does teach Active Directory exploits and configuration issues. I wanted to step it up and make it slightly more realistic. So what we did is we have a dual homed, meaning that you're going to see this in real time here in a second. We've got a vulnerable web server, a Debian web server that has two wireless cards, right? Two NICs. It's got one that is externally facing, and then it also has one that here in IT, the IT bros wanted to set up an application, and it is a vulnerable application, right? But these guys working in finance, the crypto bros, they wanted to set up this Debian web server and didn't configure it properly. It's a vulnerable web server. And so what I used for that was DVWA, which is damn vulnerable web app. Phenomenal playground to test your web application hacking skills, really any kind of hacking skills, because we're going to be looking at some reverse shell technology, or reverse shell techniques, some bind shell techniques. Today, what we're going to focus on is we're going to look at this network. And as you can see, here's the Kali box over here to the left. We go down. It's both facing this box over here, right? This 10.9, the 24 network, and I'm just using it as a reference. Mine's a little different. Then on the other side, we have the 1080.80 over 24 net subnet, right? This VLAN has a different, right? I cannot ping the domain controller or any of these Windows boxes from the internet. I can, however, potentially do something to this box here, right? This dual homed vulnerable, and then potentially, depending on the credentials, depending on some other factors that we potentially will walk through tonight, we can make our way to the Windows box. Okay, we're going to take it from, I'm thinking for the sake of time, and to walk through some of the Security Plus vulnerabilities and see how they play off kind of in the real world, is we'll probably start with an assumed breach already. So we'll already have visibility of the domain. And we're going to get into how we do that visibility, right? It's actually pretty straightforward, and that's again the beauty of this specific home lab, is it also forces you to use pfSense, which is open source firewall. But what it also does, I think is fantastic, is it forces you to understand rules for your labs, right? So that you can go through and you see my LAN here. I've got some specific anti-lockout rules. I've got some allowing LAN to any rule. I've got some traffic things with some notes that Ben and I walked through. He let me kindly help him even further update the lab, which was really cool to have that senior mentoring. Like, it's really been a phenomenal experience, this whole red team thing. I can't, it's just like, I found my niche and I love it. At any rate, so here's our AD lab. As we can see, we've got a couple different rules in here, all right? And here's our LAN. This is where Kali sits. Kali sits on our local area network, which we configured when we got this set up. Now here's a rule that says IPv4 plus IPv6 is the protocol we're looking at. The source can be any, and the port can be any, but the destination would be our AD lab subnets. And then here we're blocking packets to the AD lab, right? So we're blocking IMCP, ping packets, Nmap scans, any of that, we're gonna block that. So I have that turned off. And oh, by the way, on my home labs, I keep Defender, Windows Defender, I keep antivirus fully on. And I know in other labs for proof of concept, they have you turn it off. I think that's a valuable skill, but once you've done the hack or the exploit, I really think it's important you go back and do it with all the full, like a basic decent configuration, right? Maybe they came really close to a good configuration, but they missed a few things. And the reason is because I want people to get, I want you out there who's doing these home labs to get used to jumping from box to box and potentially not only having that lateral movement, and then Windows, you know, or Linux, you have that privilege escalation piece, but understanding where to go within the environment to do what you have to do to potentially turn off antivirus, maybe from the command shell, you know, from the command line. Maybe it's from a shell. Maybe you RDP and you're doing it that way, right? So there's all different ways. Where there's a will, there's a way, and that's the beauty of offensive security. Can we get the links in chat, CyberChef42? Let me see if I can. Yes, out of curiosity, did you set this up in a previous stream? Haircut Fish? No, I was setting up the Heath Adams TCM lab, which is a great lab. That's what got me through the PNPT. But knowing that I'm in the hiring process for a red team role, I wanted to step it up to the best of my entry-level ability. And so I actually reached out to somebody in the Fox Hunt Discord, which is a phenomenal place for mentorship and leadership. And I said, hey, Fox Hunt, you guys are an awesome crew. I'm getting ready to take the PNPT here in a few days, and I'm in the hiring process for a red team role. And Ben was like, boom. Ben and I had worked together. We had networked. This is the beauty of a professional network. He actually, my younger brother who does the nature YouTubes that we've talked about, right? The phenomenal, you gotta go check out his channel because that stuff is getting even better. The content production is just looking cleaner. At any rate, I got on LinkedIn and I said, hey, my brother wants to get into potentially IT, content creation, we don't know, but we gotta get him a computer, right? Ben Heater stepped up and said, I know what that's all about. He's like, I'm all about supporting. He made sure that he, with his own money, grabbed a computer from the company. They were expanding, and he was like, well, I'm going to, use it in my home labs, or I can give it to somebody who could use it to, make something out of whatever their vision, create something. So he sent it to my brother, right? So I had this connection with Ben. Here's the beauty of LinkedIn, professional networking, and all this stuff. Ben drops in chat and says, yo, I'm a senior guy. Hey, DM me. Multiple sessions, 45 minutes, an hour of typing back and forth, setting VLAN, setting Ether. I mean, just going through the firewall, going through the vulnerable machines and setting them up to make them as realistic as possible from a a junior penetration tester place. And the next step would probably be to integrate a SIM, some kind of EDR, and then for the blue teamers, you hack your lab, and then you could have somebody else hack it with you, and then maybe they could do some log analysis or practice some of the blue team stuff. All that to answer, this is a lab that I did not set. This is all brand new. It has been already fully set up and configured. When you fire this up, you need to fire up things in a specific order or it won't work. So the full lab is the pfSense firewall, the Kali box, Academy, which is dual homed, Metasploit, which is dual homed, meaning that it has both external and internal facing network adapters. Here's my Windows 10 template that I sysprepped in following the instructions. We talked to Ben with that process. You take your VM image and you sysprep, which is a program or tool in Microsoft and Windows, which basically allows you to copy the image and, from my understanding, is get a new UID, a unique identifier for the computer. So it's the closest of replicating an actual two different computers, right? So there's our clone. We've got a Windows 7 machine that was generously given to me that I'm using to really try and secure it as much as I can for Windows 7 and then just hack the heck out of it. Then we've got two Windows 10 boxes, finally a Windows 2019 domain controller, and then here's our damn vulnerable web app running. So you got to do the firewall first, and then I found that the domain controller does next, and then you kind of fire them up and make sure they talk to each other, and you kind of get after it. You follow Ben's instructions here, and you go from there. So we'll drop that. See, that is I got confused and I was like, hey, we're on the internet. Wait a minute, where are all my bookmarks? Here's our Kali box. I was trying here's a reverse online shell generator that I found, PHP Pentest Monkey. You can get a lot of these different shells and stuff other places. I think it's a great tool to understand this automated stuff. But what I want people to take away from the home labs is start getting used to looking at what PHP looks like. Get used to what the different shell codes and the different scripting languages and programming languages look like. Because even if you don't think you're an expert, you're going to start, if you understand what the tool does, and you go through and you can start to look at some of this source code, you can kind of start to become a programmer. And then when you start to learn actively a language, Python would be a great place to start. Bash scripting would be a great place to start. They all you start to understand computer, right? We start to understand these different Boolean processes and this different logic when we look at shellcode, or we look at source code. Here we can see we're changing the IP to go back to our talking machine. You can either download it, and then here's some directory transversal right here, potentially. And so the damn vulnerable web app gives you a chance to practice a lot of different skills. I highly recommend you download this machine. You can find it on VulnHub and download it and run it in VirtualBox, and it gives you the ability to practice a lot of different security techniques: brute force, command injections, cross-site request forgeries, file inclusion, SQL injection, blind SQL injections, uploads, cross-site scripting reflected, cross-site scripting stored. And what's beautiful about this, what I really like about this, that looks a little small. Can I make it bigger? Yep, Control Shift, and plus. So used to Windows, there we go, plus. All right, you can come in here and you can actually challenge yourself. So you can set it to a high security application and then go through and hack the heck out of it, right? Or you can keep it a medium security application. I'm using it as a pivot box, and so working on some pivoting techniques. And so I just have it really for proof of concept, so that if in my environment, when I take the PNPT, or if I'm ever given a mock pen test, which forces me to pivot, I've got some techniques, right? I'm still working through getting them to work. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, and that's the beauty of hacking. That is the lab. Ben notes, so that's what the diagram looks like. And so we can see our different internet facings, and this is our plan of action. We're going to scan the network, and we're going to actually go down, and we're going to start with hitting the Active Directory part, right? We're going to start running some responder, look at getting some hashes, potentially crack them, potentially try and log in on a box if I can remember. A lot of this is going to be going from the guide, but I'm also really trying to push myself and remember how much of this I remember from the PJPT and how much I just remember. So that's what the end of tonight's going to look like. I guess we should probably answer some questions. Before we do that, let's pay the bills. Again, I'd like to thank you all for joining Slay Security Plus. I'm really excited coming hot off of a pretty busy day. My name is Jesse J, aka The Cosmic Cowboy, and we are broadcasting live at about 4,200 feet above sea level in a nondescript location high in the western Colorado desert. And you're here, we slay Security Plus, and while you're here, you build mentorship. I always say, stay for the Security Plus, come for the Security Plus, stay for some mentorship. Come for the Security Plus, stay for the special guest. Come for the Security Plus, stay for the live interactive atmosphere. You're welcome to stay as long as you want to be with us, whether it's first time, the last time, the only time. We are glad you're here. Let's rock and roll. Let's pay the bills. Let's hope this works, and I'll see you in a minute.
Are you feeling lost in the vast world of cybersecurity, overwhelmed by technical jargon and confusing career paths? You're not alone. That's why I built Simply Cyber. Hi, I'm Dr. Gerald Ozier. Come join Simply Cyber, your supportive and inclusive community for navigating the exciting world of cyber. There's so much to take advantage of. Master the skills you need with Simply Cyber Academy, offering in-depth courses aligned with the GRC analyst role. Never feel isolated. Connect with fellow cyber enthusiasts and professionals in our thriving Discord server. Ask questions, get feedback, share your journey. Check out the Simply Cyber YouTube channel, delivering insightful interviews. What are your thoughts around, web app pen testing as entry level? And I included bug bounty here because that's very accessible to everybody. Practical skill demos and daily cyber threat briefs, all hosted by industry experts. There's so much more to discover. Are you ready to join the community and empower your future? Visit simplycyber.io/socials for all the links and start your cyber adventure today.
Woo! Let's go, Dr. Jerry Ozier, simplycyber.io. That's kind of, if you've been with us long enough, that's really where I got a huge majority of the inspiration. Another place with the Professor Mester Discord channel, I've met a guy named Dax and Jason Alano. And the combination of watching these guys give free Security Plus has really ignited that passion in me. And I wanted to inspire you that, hey, if you're studying for CC, you hit me up. Say, hey, I want to start something like you're doing for a different certificate. Can you show me how you did it? This camera that I got was cheap. The monitors, the initial setup when we did this, they're $15 a pop off of Facebook Marketplace. If you're interested in helping others along your journey, similar to what I did, man, feel free to reach out, right? I'm not going to try and tell you things in my area of expertise that I don't understand. I understand cybersecurity, I understand Security Plus. Let's get after it. We're working on Domain 2. Domain 2 covers our threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations. This is going to cover really all of I hate using passive language like that because you can never really fully explain the tech world in absolutes. It's always changing, right? Let's get that a little bit bigger. One thing that's really key to understand when you're studying for your Security Plus is, yes, CompTIA is going to ask you about things that have to do with having a general understanding of cybersecurity as a practitioner. More importantly, is CompTIA is going to ask you questions about their objective guide and their body of knowledge, right? They already have a set body of answers and a set body of knowledge coming from 99.99% is this domain objectives sheet. So I always tell people, use this as your Bible. Don't feel like you have to know every single thing in cybersecurity. It's good to have an understanding of other things. So networking, maybe some, TCP stack protocols and having some basic working understanding. But at the end of the day, CompTIA is going to ask you stuff from here. And they're going to do it in a way that they're looking for, right? And that's why I especially go for this certification. It's the one that gets you in the door. We're working out of this. I think we got all the way through Domain 2.2. So here's some of our vulnerabilities. And as you can see, some of the ones that really are the most scary are going to be our internal, external. The ones that are going to, I feel like, affect the everyday person. John Strand would probably say the same thing. And some of these other cybersecurity companies is, it's not 0 days that we're seeing all the time being exploited in the wild, right? It's broken access controls. It's input validation. It's still the same stuff that we're seeing, just carrying over in a whole new into 2024. The attacks are changing. The attack surface is changing, right? We're maybe moving away from Active Directory on-prem. I argue we're going to move back. I think that we're seeing more people move out of the cloud because it's expensive. It's really expensive. And I think that we're going to see a return to some on-prem Active Directory. That being said, the attacks are moving. We have API attacks now, stuff, right? But at the end of the day, it's our straightforwardness, man. It's the human element, right? It's poor access controls. It's application allow list. It's poor patching. It's all of these things here in the bottom that we're not doing that really would prevent all of this. And so it's so important to understand as security professionals when we look at these vulnerabilities and threats and how to mitigate them, that it starts first at the human level, the human of the TCP stack, level 0, right? Human level. And then it goes from there. I think that is just so crucial that we understand that we can have the best firewalls, the best pen testers, the best blue teamers, the best purple teamers, whatever. But if the human element isn't forward thinking in how we do things, like onboarding for a company, you should have a full day that's mandatory where people, the CEO and people get up and they say, we do not ask for gift cards. You will never, ever receive this, and this from us. You're hearing it from us in orientation. So you're never going to be confused. So we've got to change the top-down methodology of how we're implementing. And then we can start to implement frameworks. Don't get me started. I'm feeling spicy tonight, right? Let's get after some questions. We got a little bit ways through last week. Cyber Hamburglar and Professor Roger did a phenomenal job going through Domain 2 review and then also discussing some other things in the industry. And so we're going to take off really with that review. Let's open the poll, get it fired up, present it into full screen. Make sure it's not a family member texting. Hey, it's Professor Roger. Hey, Professor Roger. I'm live now. Would you like to jump in? Let's do it. Kind of boomer style. Hey, Professor Roger. I'm live right now. You're welcome to jump into chat. We appreciate you. Exclamation point. Gosh, that's terrible. But you know what? Time is of the essence. Okay. Question. All right, let's rock. If you've never done this before, we don't put any of the answers in chat. Reserve those for actually playing of the game. What you want to do, or the live quizzing, however you want to look at it, is scan this QR code, and it should take you directly to this. We ask that you answer all answers within this, and they're completely anonymous. I don't get to see who's voting what. So, a network team has installed new access points to support an application launch. In less than 24 hours, the wireless network was attacked. The wireless network was attacked and private company information was accessed. Which of the following would most likely be the reason for this breach? Race condition, jailbreaking, impersonation, or misconfiguration? So A, race condition, B, jailbreaking, C, impersonation, or D, misconfiguration. Tonight's beverage sponsor, maybe that's why I'm feeling a little bit spicy tonight, is Yerba Mate. This is a really good energy drink, pretty clean. Yeah, that's what we're sipping on tonight. Okay, application network team, all right. In less than 24 hours, the network was attacked. A network team has installed the new access points to support an application launch. An application launch in less than 24 hours. What is most likely? Now, we preach this a lot, but I'm always advocating for the person who's just getting into cybersecurity, and this is their first day looking at Security Plus questions. You see the most here? That's indicative that this question probably has some partial credit to it. So there's probably maybe a good answer and then a most, right? A most and a moster maybe. So we can go through the answers and we can see the ones that are not correct. Race condition probably isn't it. Race condition typically has to do with the computer tries to do two time-based things at the end of the day simultaneously, and it can cause different things to happen within your environment, right? Bad things, cause things to break. Look at everybody on YouTube. What is going on? I've got two chats rocking. Christopher Whitlock rocking in the chat. Gil, how's it going? Haircut Fish on that side. The Rich 464. You guys are the fam away from the fam. Cyber Chef 42 and Cyber Ninja. What is going on? Welcome. All right, let's rock this question. It's been about a minute of me java jacking. Jailbreaking typically has to do with what? Mobile phones, right? Sideloading, jailbreaking, maybe rooting your mobile phone. Jailbreaking and those two do not GJ in the house, like Grand Junction. Those two don't satisfy. So it could be impersonation. Maybe the network team had somebody come in. Maybe there was just a default misconfiguration or a misconfiguration we talked about, right? Let's look. Survey said misconfiguration, 100%, right? Kind of tells us. Haircut Fish says, nerfing over here, working and learning from you. Good, man. I hope that we're given a valuable resource. Oh, tonight's information and everything I'm using forward, if anybody's curious, and once I get this chat set up, which we will do, I can link this stuff. I haven't usually done links because, again, we're not We're not monetized other than the sponsorship from Jerry, right? So, but for textbook, I am using the Ian Neal from Packet. There's a free edition online, or somebody has a free one floating around. I really enjoyed this so far. Last year, for Security Plus 601, when I was studying, I used the Cybex 601 as prescribed by Taylor. Not a big fan of the practice tests personally. I'm a Messer boy. And then for the notes and the targeted reading, I use Professor Messer's notes for $30 and his practice test for $30. So all of tonight's practice tests are from Professor Messer's new 701 bank. I'm not sponsored by him, but we are using his questions because they are the closest to the real thing. And then some of the targeted reading for my own teaching to keep myself frosty. I use this book, paid for, and then Pocket Prep, the app Pocket Prep, I really enjoyed. So with those three resources, Professor Messer, the Pocket Prep, and then a good textbook and a live study to kind of keep you accountable, that's really all we needed, right? Let's rock. All right, an organization has identified a significant vulnerability in an internet-facing firewall. The firewall company has stated the firewall is no longer available for sale, and there are no plans to create a patch for this vulnerability. If I had my... It's coming. Are no longer for sale, and there's no plans to patch it, right? Which of the following would best describe this issue? A, end of life or EOL. B, improper input handling. That one's kind of sticks out. C, improper key management. And D, incompatible operating system. While you answer this question, again, same principle. Read the question all the way. Then start to look at some of the answers that you know are incorrect and start to build out a profile of what CompTIA is asking you. Remember, they're only asking you stuff from your body of knowledge that is in the objectives, right? And so there's these 4 answers to choose from. One thing that I do see, that I have seen, right, and I'm still entry level, so just take this anecdotally, this is just what I've seen, is from my teaching experience, is people with a lot of previous experience actually struggle with Security Plus. And it's not because they don't know what's going on. It's because they know kind of how things work in the real world. And sometimes CompTIA will give you options that are really good for the exam, but not necessarily how it's actually applied. And it's easy to get caught up in the 4 options they give you and go, there's no way that's it. Like, there's a better option. In some of these cases, there might be a better option in the world of cybersecurity. But that's not what we're going for here. We're going for what does CompTIA want you to know. So I hope that kind of makes you feel a little bit better when you're going to the end of the exam, right? And they don't tell you this. CompTIA is not going to tell you that. They want your money. I'm not sponsored by there, and I'll tell you this right now. CompTIA, in my opinion, and if you work there, I'm sorry. This does not represent any of the people, right? This is not a reflection of Jerry, Mason SC, or anybody, but I'm just going to say it, and I'll ask for forgiveness later. I truly believe that CompTIA are like the masters of social engineering. Overpriced certifications that really are, they seem like they're really hard to get. To keep them updated is another fee. And then the training materials are either harder than they need to be or in a way that makes you think that you need to buy the second retake, right? And their stuff is all proprietary. It's hard to get official CompTIA training materials. It's just, for what the goal was, it really frustrates me. And so that's where the Cosmic Cowboy Cyber Outlaw came into play, is like, hey, let's not do this. There's a lot of people that could benefit from Security Plus just as a gateway drug, right? Just as that gateway certification to get you started, right? And I want to get you into the industry and with everybody else in chat and networked and all the kind of stuff, the best of my ability. This tells me, yeah, I would go with end of life on this one, right? Because input proper handling, while it might have something to do with it in maybe how if you're thinking how the firewall is set up, like improper input handling, maybe how it was set up. When we talk about improper input handling, we're more talking on the development side, right, of that application or that firewall is what I'm thinking in how that is being carried out within form fields, right? Improper key management, incompatible OS. I agree, those aren't it. End of life, right? Let's look at improper input is a best practice for application security and is the best to provide the proper handling of unnecessary input, right? And we'll get more into, if you stay with Slay Security Plus, as I have kind of said a couple times, that diehard red teamer. I'm a purple teamer at heart. Okay, I love blue team too, but what I love doing is red team stuff. Is you're gonna need a lot, probably red team content mixed with Security Plus, right? And we'll tie it all together in a holistic approach. So we'll look at proper handling, doing some injections and stuff like that. An attacker has sent more information expected in a single API call, application programming interface. This has allowed the execution of arbitrary code. That doesn't sound good. Which of the following would best describe this attack? A, buffer overflow, a B, replay attack, C, cross-site scripting, or D, DDoS or distributed denial of service. Sent more information in a single API call, and this has allowed execution of arbitrary code. This one can be answered by reading, if you understand kind of the basics of computer science and how a computer works. I don't want to, because I'll give it away the answer. The answer is in the question. The answer is really kind of in the question. DDoS has to do with significantly slowing down a site or stopping the services on a site to the point where they're unusable, right? DDoS doesn't always mean a full shutdown. It can mean that you squeeze that network pipe until it's just nothing, just a few packets here and there. Etrich Mulder, ayo, Chopin 318723. You know it. You know it as in Grand Junction, or you know it as in, are you in the town that I live close to? I don't care where y'all, like Wild West Hacking Fest, man. You always come out to my house afterwards and let's have a throwdown. Jerry's Shed is kind of named after this, Caracut Fish says. Yes, Jerry's live streaming capital is named after this. I'm here, Grand Junction, LFG. What's going on, Choppin 18723? Man, you should reach out to me on the LinkedIn or something, or shoot me a text if you have my number, better yet, and let me know who you are IRL, because we're probably pretty close to the same town. That's crazy, dude. Okay, let's do some personal networking. If you don't already, you need to plug into the Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Brief every morning. It's 6 o'clock a.m. our time, but that's okay. And what I want you to do, hey, Justin Rohrer, Colorado, Pueblo, right? If I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is hit me up and let's try and plan some Colorado meetups. I'm the captain, but one of the representatives of the Simply Cyber Colorado chapter of meetups, of live in-person meetups. But I'm on the western side, so I'm about 4 hours from Denver, whereas we've got a pretty good little community, from what I understand, in the Colorado Springs area, which is where my in-laws live. So I spend a lot of time there, but I live on the western side. Like Moab is literally 90 minutes. Like Arches National Park, I could get in the car and be there before the sun goes down. That's how close I am. Like 7 hours from Vegas. I'm from Colorado Springs. It's a 6-hour drive to Wild West Hacking Fest. All right, let's talk about the answers. Cross-site scripting, it doesn't sound like a DDoS. And let's talk about what a replay attack is. Now, a replay attack, I'm going to reframe the question so that we can look at the question as if it's being asked a little bit differently. Let's say the question asked, an attacker gained unauthorized access to, let's say, I don't know. An attacker was able to do a downgrade attack and downgrade a browser's certificate from TLS down to SSL. So, like a socket stripping and or certificate stripping. And so now a lot of what's going over the line, they're watching it. They're intercepting on a Wireshark and they're intercepting the traffic. And because they did a downgrade attack, now all that information is being sent over in clear text, okay? And they see Justin Rohrer logging into his Magic the Gathering Arena account, and they get those credentials and they say, all right, I got them in clear text. They go, it's his Magic the Gathering account, but I wonder if Justin might use those same credentials somewhere else. And so they will take that set of credentials, whether it's a clear text password, an encoded password, or even a hash, and depending on what they're planning to do, they'll either take them offline and crack them with a nice GPU, or they'll and then come back on and replay those credentials, right? You're taking credentials that aren't supposed to be yours from either a man-in-the-middle attack or otherwise, a redirection attack of some kind, however you get them, right? Phishing attack, and then you're actually replaying them, right? Man-in-the-middle, replay attacks kind of go hand in hand. Buffer overflows, on the other hand, are when you're sending either an application call, or depending on whatever the attack looks like, you're sending more space than the memory can handle. And what happens is as the memory goes down the memory stack, and I'm going to slaughter it technically, but if I had it in front of me, but I know what I'm talking about, right? As it comes down the memory stack, there's a place of buffer when you're looking at like the input of how much you're sending it, right? So let's say I send it all A's, 1,000 A's. And there's not enough, and the buffer isn't set properly. Those A's are going to actually trickle down, and maybe we can get a visual description of what that kind of looks like. And those A's are going to trickle down over overflow. Looks like I looked it up probably maybe for this. Right. And so what we can do is now, this is how our memory looks, right? If you're to look at memory, you have the function parameters, return function, base pointing, and a buffer. Well, within this area, in this part of our memory, as you can see how some of these works, password 1, 2, 3, and then over here you've got the overflow. If that's not set properly, you can do all kinds of things like remote code execution and all, different attacks because whoever built that application didn't properly. It wasn't securely coded. The memory wasn't cleansed properly to prevent that from happening, right? So replay is kind of like an offline attack, since you would be cracking it offline and then replaying it, or would that just be a step in the replay attack? You could absolutely think, a replay attack has offline components to it if you are taking a hash potentially and cracking it with Hashcat with a GPU, but doesn't mean you're always going offline, right? Like, let's say I'm doing a LMNR poisoning, and I'm going to do an SMB relay. And I have my notes in front of me, so I'm going, just bear with me. So, right, we get our responder fired up, and it's going to look for that link local multicast name resolution to get sent out. And what that is when a computer is looking, gets a typo, DNS doesn't know how to translate it, so it sends out what's called the LLMNR, if that's enabled, and it's enabled by default. The problem with LMNR is it sends things in clear text, so you can capture that hash, take it offline and crack it, or you can not crack it at all, and you can stay online and use something like either SMB exec, CrackMac exec, and NTLM relay X, and you can take those hashes, and if you know the network you're trying to attack, you can actually take those and pass them across the network and see if they work anywhere, right? And you'll get a nice little text display, like Elite Hacker, feeling all good about yourself, because it tells you, oh, look, this password worked on a user machine. Now they're just users, but hey, we got it. So it's part of it, but there's a whole bunch of things that kind of in that offline, right? Offline attack typically just has to do with taking passwords or hashes, taking them offline, and then the second component of that, if you wanted to take it to the next step, would be to replay those credentials. I hope that answers the question. And if it doesn't, please let me know in chat. Yes, pass the hash is a replay attack too. Once you have a set of creds, yep, exactly, it's a replay attack. Pass the hash, pass the password, crack the hash. And remember, you can't really actually crack a hash. It's not reversible, so just keep that in mind. Right, let's roll. We're blazing through tonight. Coming in hot. Buffer overflow, right? The role of a buffer overflow can cause random results, but sometimes the actions can be repeatable and controlled. In best possible case for the hacker, a buffer overflow can be manipulated to, execute code on the remote device. So remote execution, right? Remote code execution. So there we go. You're welcome, Justin. Working on trying to answer them like how I'd explain it to, like how I learned it. A user with restricted access typed in text in the search field of an internal web application, user 77, quote, or, quote, 1 = 1 after submitting his search requests. This should really start to point you somewhere. If not, jump online and Google this, because this should be, at this point, all of these attacks, whether you're red or blue team, you need to start becoming just your commonplace conversation. Understand them, research them. Even if you never do a SSL stripping or a SQL injection or a buffer overflow, go research them. You never know when you're doing a blue team job and the hiring manager goes, "What's your favorite vulnerability that you've seen exploited in the wild?" Tell me a little bit about buffer overflow, or tell me a little bit about SSL stripping, and you're interviewing for a GRC position. You just don't know. So take time and just learn what these do, kind of get a working knowledge of what they're doing under the hood, how they're affecting what area of the TCP stack are they working in, right? So get an understanding of this. We see cross-site scripting and SQL injection, right? One of the things, okay, so to help me differentiate just on a like bird's eye, big picture perspective regarding whether it's XSS or cross-site scripting versus SQL injection, is, do you see how we're seeing a search request and we're going into the database, right? So this is most likely going into a search field of some kind because it wasn't properly sanitized, right? The sanitization in that search field, when the web application, they built it, whether they built it in, whatever they built it in, that box, that enter username, enter password, enter lookup hammers, whatever that search box is, wasn't properly sanitized. And so you can cause it to retrieve. Remember, think about what a SQL injection is, right? Structured query language, right? You've got a SQL database that has lots of data, arrays and arrays of data. And when you ask for things on the internet, it'll send a SQL injection, a SQL request to that server, right? From passwords where password equals, right? You've seen SQL before. If not, go check it out. And what you're doing is you're adding in this, and depending on the type of SQL, whether it's MySQL or Postgres, whatever it is, they're going to communicate a little bit differently. You're injecting SQL into those parameters. Cross-site scripting, on the other hand, from how I've done it in labs and understanding, is you're trusting the browser and you're trusting kind of that communication between different sites, right? Let's see if we're on the same path. SQL injection, right? SQL injection, or structured query language injection, takes advantage of poor input validation to circumvent the application, allows attackers to query the database directly. The incorrect answer is cross-site scripting takes advantage of third-party trust to a web application. The attack demonstrated in this does not use another's credentials or access rights to obtain information. And we talked about the other ones. A company has been informed of a hypervisor vulnerability that could allow users on one virtual machine to access resources on another virtual machine. Which of the following would best describe this vulnerability? A, containerization, B, jailbreaking, C, SDN, or D, escape? Eric Hansen, how are you doing, sir? Had to pause, and I'm catching up on the past 5 minutes or so, but I would disagree with the definition of a replay attack. Talk to me about that. Talk to me. Super curious. And we can go back to the Professor Messer explanation and look at and go through the notes and make sure we're on the same page. So what are we looking at here? Okay. Containerization is a process, right, of containerizing different applications. We're talking clouds. We're talking cloud, potentially mobile applications. Jailbreaking, that doesn't answer the question, right? That has to do with, again, mobile device rooting, sideloading, that kind of thing. Software-defined networking. What best describes this vulnerability? I don't think. But we have this bottom answer here, escape. Virtual machine escape is, I think, what they're looking for. Escape. Eric Hansen says, generally would consider a replay attack to be a replay of a previous captured packet. Interesting. Think of a situation where you capture the signal that unlocks the car and then replay it near the car. I think that your example is definitely a type of replay attack. Replay attack in just a broad sense of the word is when we're taking any kind of credentials and then we're replaying them. We are capturing them from a man-in-the-middle attack or however we get them, and then we're replaying it to get in, right? Or an API, different tokens or session cookies. That's how I think of, and I could be wrong. And I know an Eric Hansen that I spoke with today, and if you're the same one, then I'm in a lot of trouble. Let's see Master's Nerds. See what let's consult the professor. This is 601, but I think we'll go ahead, try that. Replay attacks. So we're looking at buffer overflows, right? This is coming from 601, but the information still is the same. So this is from CompTIA 601, and this is just where we're going, right? Replay attack. Useful information is transmitted over the network. That could be anything. That could be session cookies. That could be tokens. Are we doing 601? No, we are studying for 701, but some of the general principles, such as replay attacks, that attack itself hasn't changed. I have the 701 notes. I just, for brevity and sake of time, use these. It's the same exact thing. We're looking at a pass the hash, which is known as a replay attack, right? Same thing we're talking about. So need access to the raw data. And so it could be a network tap. You could be capturing packets through Wireshark. That's a great example. You capture the packets through Wireshark, and then you take those same credentials and however you want to do it, whether you're doing it on a repeater in Burp Suite, or you're just going to the website and logging in on its own, however you're doing it, you're taking those credentials and you are replaying them to do something you're not supposed to. I'm not saying I'm right, just that it is an interesting inclusion to me. If we were replaying an exact capture credentials, I would agree. But if we were cracking them and using them elsewhere, I wouldn't. Yeah, man, I don't know. That's again, maybe I need to broaden my take a look, and I'll be happy to go further on this. But really, so when you start to get in the world of replay attacks, pass the hash is a replay attack, right? You're taking that hash, right? I capture it, however I capture it. And then you can see the client, he sends this hash over to the server. I attack it, I capture it, and let's say I don't even try and crack it offline. I just pass it around the network and see if there's any servers that take it, right? That's a replay attack. I'm just replaying the credentials. Here's one of your examples, Eric. Header manipulation, information gathering, Wireshark, right? The prevention session hijacking. All right, so here's some modify cookies. So here's some things you can probably do to maybe mitigate. But at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about when we're looking at replay attacks. Anytime you're taking important information, doing whatever you got to do it on your end, whether that's cracking or not, and then you're replaying that within a network, within an application, within an object, within a file. A replay attack is taking credentials and replaying them. That's just like kind of how it's more of a broad term. I hope that helps. I'm going to crack a window because I am cooking. Let's go. Yes, exactly, Matthew Pelkey. I think I got it. Replay attack is a broad category, and there are multiple specific types within it. Yeah, there's some. Yeah, just think anytime I'm capturing those creds or important information and then replaying them on a system, on a application, and man in the middle is a way to replay credentials, right? Redirection attacks, DNS poisoning, there's different ways to get information to then do a replay attack. But again, the attack in and of itself is just that. How long does the daily cyber threat brief last in the mornings? Evan C. says it lasts approximately an hour and a half. The actual morning threat brief, where we talk about kind of what's going on in the cyber world, that lasts for about an hour. 30 minutes of actual, like, really hardcore educational, and the rest is kind of mentorship building and having some fun, some anecdotal stuff. And then the last half an hour is what we call jaw jacking. It's kind of an open-ended ask me anything to Dr. Ogier regarding the industry. We have fun. We get a little bit crazy. I broke the stream today because I'm a moderator, and I put in a picture of a lady putting sour cream on her face. And I thought maybe I truly, because, he's my mentor, but Jerry's also a friend of mine. I'm like, shit, sorry, Kennedy. Beep. I pissed off my friend. So I texted him like, Jerry, I'm sorry. He's like, dude, I'm not mad. He's like, it was just like visceral for me. I'm like, dude, it seemed like I broke chat. Like, you're in such a good mood. And then you looked at the sour cream, and he's like, and then the next season, I thought maybe he saw a ghost, but that man does not like sour cream. So an hour and a half to answer your question, give or take. It wouldn't even need to be creds within a replay attack. Not always, right? It usually is, because you're replaying to get access to something you shouldn't, but it could be other things, right? But typically, usually, when we're talking replay attack, we're talking in the past, an IT organization has relied on a curated Apple Store to avoid issues associated with malware and insecure applications. However, the IT department has discovered an iPhone in the shipping department with applications not available on the Apple App Store. How did the shipping department user install these apps on their mobile device? Through a malicious update, through VM escape, through cross-site scripting, or through sideloading? This one's straightforward. You guys got this one on the head, and if we're wrong, well, then we'll write Professor Messer. Correct question or correct answer is sideloading, so good job. Now, try to do the best that I could. Again, look at what this is asking. Looks like we're looking at a frame from a packet capture, potentially, a PCAP. Frame 4 says there's 937 bytes on the wire, 937 bytes captured, Ethernet 2 or ETH2. Our source is Hewlett-Packard with this MAC address. Remember the MAC address? And this is how I process. This is how you can, not should, I process. As I read the question, I start immediately connecting the dots within IT and cybersecurity, right? So I'm looking at the bytes. I'm looking at the wire. I'm looking at level. I'm thinking L1. I'm thinking layer 1 right now in this, right? Ethernet 2. I see the source. I see a MAC address. Right, and that's our encoded hardwired that's on our network interface card that identifies our computer. And then here we go. Here's some more communications protocol version 4. Here's our source and our destination, source port, or source and the destination, a transmission control protocol, otherwise known as TCP, source port of 3863 to destination point of 1433. And here's the data that was set. Select asterisk, which in computer code, for as long as it's been computer code, asterisk typically means wildcard. So anything, select anything from where username, and this is really classic type of language, select from where username equals X or X equals X and password equals X or X equals X. And you should look at this one and know from the conversation that we had earlier what this attack is. Again, cross-site scripting coming back in. You'll see cross-site scripting, and we'll look at that maybe next week. We'll do some. I'll be in the middle of PNPT next week. I think I can do this still, because I'm not sharing any information. Let me look at whether we're yeah. I'm just thinking out loud about Saturday. SQL injection. And then let me know in chat. We're at about the hour mark. We are rolling, and we are crushing these questions. I am going to be doing labs moving forward. If there's no special guest, I'll probably be doing some labs almost every Slay Security Plus. Do you guys want to keep doing questions, or do you want to roll into some attacks? I'm feeling pretty studied up. I've been kind of just submersed in red team, so I'm feeling okay, at least for some general Active Directory attacks. So if you wanted to study some attacks with me, we can. If you want to save that for a different Slay Security Plus, let me know in chat. And otherwise, we'll just keep answering questions for another little bit. Professor Roger, he says he's on this. I'm in the YouTube. Can I get on stage? That's why you and I are meeting tomorrow, Roger, is because I need to talk to you to make sure we're all on the same page for production and stuff. My biggest fear, which has happened before, is getting on here and things just not working. It happens. It still happens all the time. But let's get on and make sure that we can easily transition between you, your lessons, your slides. I know that you've got a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I want to make sure that I'm doing all of that justice as a professor and educator. So I see you, I hear your chat. Let's get together and make sure we're on the same page. And then let's get you a special Slay Security Plus Professor Roger White Saturday Learn on a Thursday edition of Slay Security Plus. Let's do it that way. Keep it intentional, folks. Keep it intentional. No answer on the labs. I'm going to keep asking questions until somebody says labs. A security researcher has been notified of potential hardware vulnerability. Which of the following would the researcher evaluate as a potential security issue? Firmware versions, firewall configuration, C, SQL requests, or D, XSS attachments or cross-site scripting attachments. If you see XSS and CSS, don't get those confused. Remember that CSS has to do with cascading style sheets regarding web development, right? That kind of lets you know how it's going to appear. Let's take a look at that. Inspect the source. I can't make this any bigger, but you can pause and zoom in. We can see some different things as we highlight around in the source code of this application, right? We can see we've got some different classes, but then we can see here with some different styles. We're looking over this HTML, and you can see, you'll start to notice just different, right? HTML, here's our document type, here's our body. We can start to open these up and see different things as far as like how it's been created and where they're getting certain things from. Let's see if we can find the CSS in this application. Here we're talking some how it looks, class dialog, again, some more how we're looking. Here's our Java text. There are different Java texts, right? So this is just fun to get in and look, and I'm probably slaughtering some of the technical aspects, but it's been a long day, but you understand where I'm going with all that. Always inspect your websites, man. Get used to looking at just the regular stuff you see on the internet. Hardware vulnerability. Which of the following would the research evaluate? Okay, I see firewall configuration potentially, but I'm thinking still human error or logical error, right? So software issue. SQL requests, again, I'm not thinking hardware. Cross-site scripting attachments, again, we're not thinking hardware, we're probably thinking software. Firmware versions, that's encoded. My brain goes to firmware. Where does yours go? Let's see. Survey says firewall configuration or firmware versions. Firmware versions. When you think firmware, think hard-coded. It's a little spot in the back of your brain. In the back of your brain. Labs, study labs. Labs, study, labs. 573-918. That's awesome. Hey, Techie2K, welcome to the party, pal. Great movie, great soundbite from Jerry. I don't think I'm going to steal it for the show because I already steal too much from Jerry and DJ BSEC, but right, imitation is the finest form of flattery, they say, right? An attacker has circumvented a web-based application to send commands directly to the database. Which of the following describes this attack? A downgrade attack, a SQL injection, cross-site scripting, or an on-path attack? Hey, Professor Roger, that's our Techie 2K. Did you hear me talking to you a minute ago about how we'll get together and do a pre-live run? Make sure you have your... Can I join the stage with you? Can you hear me? Let me know in chat if you can hear me. I just went on a spiel about getting you on the stage. Let me know you can hear me in chat. You can hear me. Okay, Professor, I want to get you on here because you are a leader in the CompTIA Security Plus teaching world and affordable free education. What I want to do with you is have a conversation tomorrow. You know, we have our meeting set. Is to make sure that you're on the same page, that our tech works together, that all the slides you have are ready to go, so that when we go live next Thursday, it fires up and it works well. One of the things I don't mind building in public and messing up. I die 1,000 deaths every time my stuff doesn't work, especially when we have special guests. The feeling I feel inside is like literally 1,000 deaths. So all that to say, I want to get with you, make sure that we're on the same page technologically, and that we're on the same page for our vision and how we want our stuff to come across, because people are going to come in here and soak it up. And I want to send your crew over here, and then our crew to come learn with you on Saturdays would be phenomenal. SQL injection again. So I went through here and methodically pulled out all of the domain 2 questions from Professor Messer's stuff. They mentioned SQL a lot. So I'm thinking CompTIA mentioned SQL a lot. A user connects to a third-party website and receives this message. Your connection is not private. Net error, cert invalid. Which cert invalid? Which of the following attacks would most likely be the reason for this message? Brute force, on path, denial of service, or deauthentication? A, brute force, B, denial of service, C, on path, or D, deauthentication? When I think deauthentication, I think of wireless attacks, deauthenticating and bumping people off of the network. So, and I don't think certificate. Whenever I think certificate, and this is where my fledgling cyber brain goes, when I see error certificate, I think somebody potentially is either brute forcing or is on path, and they're trying to relay some credentials, but they don't have the right certificate to get in. They don't have the TLS handshake isn't doing the thing. And something I want you to take home, and you're like, gosh, he's always talking about this TCP protocol stack. Like it's everything to us. The OSI model is okay. The OSI model is actually crap, if you want to know the truth. TCP is really what we base the everyday work on. There's certain things in the OSI model that were named. Their naming convention at the time that they named it doesn't properly reflect what we're actually doing. And so while I get the vision, and it's forever going to be that honorable model we use, at the end of the day, it's the TCP stack is what we're using. On path. Good job, team. Deauthentication typically has more to do with bumping somebody, like a deauthentication router, like bumping somebody off the wireless attack, and potentially relaying those credentials or something like that. If you have like a rogue access point or just different things involved with deauth attacks. And actually, let's do this. Deauthentication. Some of the important management frames are encrypted, disassociate, deauthenticate. So I think a deauthentication attack might be like a form of a wireless replay attack, in the sense that you are deassociating, deauthenticating, and then you reauthenticate with maybe different credentials or different under that 802.1 dot framework, which has to do with how we communicate wirelessly over the net. Okay, feeling good. I feel like that was a acceptable explanation. A server administrator at a bank has noticed a decrease in number of visitors to the bank's website. Additional research shows that users are being directed to a different IP address than the bank's web server. Which of the following would most likely describe this attack? I listen to a lot of Jim Rome, the Jim Rome Sports Podcast. As much as I love guitars and being a nerd, I love sports, specifically football, and I like Jim Rome because he's funny. And Dan Patrick, because I love radio. I love radio. Let's talk about it. We just looked at what deauthentication attack is, right? We know that's not correct because that has much more to do with deauthenticating that 802.1 framework-based wireless router potentially, okay? We're not saying that they can't go to the website or that the services are significantly slower. It's just not going to the correct website. A buffer overflow, we don't see anything in the question that's asking us about memory, so we can automatically, or input validation, or really anything that has to do with what a buffer overflow satisfies or describes. So we would be looking at maybe something closer to DNS. What is DNS? Remember, when we're studying for Security Plus, I cannot drive this home enough, is take the concept and break down the concept before it in real time. Immediately start, don't just think DNS poisoning, that looks like it could be it. Make yourself a better cybersecurity professional and a better test taker by knowing, okay, in my head, what is DNS? Oh, DNS. You got to Google it? Google it, but learn what it is. Oh, it's domain name service. Oh, okay. This takes human words and looks up where the federally... okay. That's the system that when I put in magicthegathering.com or wizardsofthecoast.com, that's for you, Dr. Jerry Ozier. I see you in chat. Welcome, sir. I put in magicthegathering.com. The computer goes, what does that mean? Oh, wait a minute. DNS knows what that means. That means it's 10.10. Whatever, right? So DNS poisoning. Whenever you build a website or an application, you register that with DNS. An attacker could get in and poison the DNS, the domain name server or the domain name system, so that when you log into the bank's website, what you normally would be logging into, it redirects you because you type in mybank.com, but DNS was poisoned, right? So it goes out, it sends out that DNS request. DNS is like, yeah, I know where my bank is. I know where that is. And it sends you to mybank.com, right? And so we are most likely looking at a DNS poisoning. Survey says 100% of you say DNS poisoning. Ding, 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 ding. I cannot wait to get this Stream Deck up and running. In the Professor Messer example, a DNS poisoning can modify a DNS server to modify the IP address provided during the name resolution process. If an attacker modifies the DNS information, they can direct client computers to any destination IP address. So there we go. Haircut fish. I heard I missed a sour cream incident. Don't get him started, you guys. He came back to visit, and I apologized on stream and said that I thought I broke chat because you looked heartbroken, doctor. After you saw that, you went to go back to talking in the microphone, and it felt like you had to recover. I felt. Now that I know that it was just visual for you, there was a moment in time where I was just like, oh my gosh, I crushed his world with sour cream. All right, moving on. An attacker has discovered a way to disable a server by sending specifically crafted packets from many remote devices to the operating system. Sounds like maybe botnets, right? What do botnets do? So start putting together the pieces from what you do know. It's not about what you can't do. It's about what you can. It's not about what you don't know. What do you know, right? So what do you know? Well, you know that by sending these specially crafted packets to from many remote devices that you don't control, you go back and you're like, well, at least I've heard on Darknet Diaries, that's a botnet. That sounds like a botnet. Well, what are botnets usually used in? What kind of attacks, right? When the packet is received, the system crashes and must be rebooted to restore normal operation. Which following would best describe this attack? DDoS, replay attack, SQL injection, or privilege escalation. Privilege escalation has to do when you're already on the box and you got a user account and you want to escalate to something more than user, root, administrator, whatever. Remember, we were talking about SQL injection in the past 150 questions. This does not, you know what a SQL injection is now. We don't see anything about credentials being harvested, captured in the man in the middle, or an on-path attack and then replayed. And so we know that by knowing what a DDoS is, or distributed denial of service, that it's distributed from the botnets. The botnets are doing the distribution, right? And the denial of service part is that overflow of packets causing the web server to crash. So this describes a classic DDoS. Off to do dishes. Hey man, I feel that. I kind of have a similar role. I think we're doing I do a homemade sausage, Italian sausage, kale, white bean soup that is so good with some Tuscan bread. I love food. Have fun, doctor. Thanks for dropping in. We'll see you in the morning, sir. All right, keep rolling. An attacker has discovered, make sure my wife hasn't asked me if everything's okay. Is she okay? That's the most I love y'all, but it goes her and then, I'm sorry, but it goes her and then you guys. It's family. You get it, right? I'm sure it goes pets, then Jesse. No, I'm kidding. Okay, cool. I'm not missing any fam stuff. An attacker has discovered a way to disable a server by sending... Oh, we just went over this one. DDoS. Good job, team. Boom. Rolling through. You guys are, by the way, everybody's crushing it tonight. You guys are killing it. I am currently talking, yes, that is correct. I am working with Christopher Whitlock on some potential content ideas. I'm glad you asked. All kind of on the DL. Christopher Whitlock and I may or may not be working on some whack, zany ideas. Cyber Ninja, married 4 months now. Happy wife, happy life. Oh, dude. Cyber Ninja, we're going on 4 years, and I tell you what, it's not even just about happy wife, happy life. Really, it's just about, I've learned, because I'm a fixer, I'm a big time fixer. I just want to fix things. It's just about listening and being able to, marriage, I learned, is just about being able to put yourself aside for a second and focus on somebody else and choosing to do it every single day. And I cannot express how much of a choice it is to be in love. You can love somebody, but it's a choice, or it's a choice to love somebody, and it goes both ways. It does. Happy spouse, happy house, man. My wife supports Slay Security Plus, supports me doing this as a way to get into the industry full time, and she works to make sure that happens. And so without her, without Jerry, without Josh Mason, without Cyber Hamburglar, and all the people that have been continually pushing this forward, it would still just be me in a room doing Security Plus lessons. That's what we do. Here we go. What do we got going on here? Security managers create a report showing intermittent network communication from certain workstations on the internal network to one external IP address. These traffic patterns occur at random times during the day. Which of the following would be the most likely reason for these traffic patterns? A, on-path attack, B, a keylogger, C, replay attack, or D, brute force? And this will be the last question. We're going to roll into just a few minutes of labs. I want to do more, but I can tell we're feeling the heat, man. We're feeling the live questioning. Very well said, Jesse. Thanks, Kevin. Yep, it's I built Christopher Whitlock says, I believe July will me and the wife will be 6th year. It's nice when you keep track. Cyber Ninja, you got this. It's not always peaches and rainbows either, man. It is not. It's work. All good things are work. Relationships are work. Building your network is work. It should be, right? Hard work is where we grow and we get stronger in whatever we're trying to throw ourselves at. I'm gonna cut this one a little short because it's fun to see where people are voting. I could have probably just checked the other way, but that's okay. Keylogger. Keylogger captures keystrokes and occasionally transmits this information to an attacker for the analysis. The traffic patterns identified by the security manager potentially could be categorized as malicious keylogger transfers. That's a tough one. Let's do another one so that you're leaving on a good note. That is a tough question. I don't know if I would have gotten that one correctly. I can feel my brain leaving the Security Plus realm and starting to slip back into red team. Like I can see myself doing I want to do a responder attack and see if we can capture a hash real quick. Straightforward. I mean, it's Active Directory hacking 101, so it's nothing special. This is one of those questions that's frustrating compared to the real world. Yeah, this is one of those. And remember, they're not perfect, but they are the closest I've found. While working from home, users are attending a project meeting over a web conference. When typing in the meeting link, the browser is unexpectedly directed to a different website than the web conference. Users in the office do not have any issues accessing the conference site. Which of the following would be the most likely reason for the issue? A, buffer overflow, C, wireless disassociation, D, amplified DDoS, or D, DNS poisoning. I'm going to open up my little text editor here and make notes of this question so we can rewrite it. And hopefully there's some of my interview stuff, talking points, credit card from wifey. Is there any information? Nope. Here's my IP addresses. Oh, you want to know how my brain thinks? So I'm doing a lab and then I played a quick game of Magic the Gathering. Here's all my lab information, right? And then up here I have get credit card info for wifey. And then I have Magic the Gathering cards that I didn't want to forget. I digress. What was the question again? Keylogger. Keylogger. That's not spelled right. Keylogger. One. Question. I should do Q1. Keylogger question 1. I will revisit that question and we'll tighten that one up because it does make sense, but my brain needs to process what that looks like a little bit more in the explanation. Buffer overflow, wireless disassociation. When typing in the meeting link, typing in a link, So it's sending you somewhere, right? You're typing in a name. That name is getting resolved, right, to maybe a domain that has a name on it. And there's a server or a system that's resolving it. And potentially somebody poisoned that server or system. We should be thinking DNS poisoning, and we are. There we go. All right, let's get out of this. You guys slayed it tonight. Let's see how everybody did. Close this out and display leaderboard for tonight's session. Right now we're doing pretty darn good. 24 out of 33 after 33 questions total, team. We're hitting 24 out of 33 of Professor Messer, really close to the real deal exam questions. You guys are doing great. So keep it up. Let's see if I can remember any of these attacks just off the back of my head. Do I have to fire anything up? I don't think so. I got Callie here. Let me open up. Let's go to our server. Is my template not fired up? Oh well. Let's fire this up real fast. I had this built out in VMware Pro. CyberSef, take care all. I have an early day tomorrow. I do too. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day. Let me check the other side of stream. Everyone's leaving. That's cool. Justin Rohrer. Hey, Bridget. Welcome. We got only a few minutes left, and then I'm going to play We've got our Mario Party Family Adventure. Hey, all of this is free, by the way. All of this is free. The VirtualBox, all of the VMs, everything that I've done in this lab is 100% free. I have VMware Pro, as you can see down here. But for whatever reason, this lab runs really flippin' well in VirtualBox. Fire that up. Make sure we've got all the good stuff going. Okay, let's see if we can, what do I need to take care of? We need to look at our rules on our firewall, because remember, we're imitating that we can see. We want that rule blocks packets, so that rule is off, meaning that all of these, and it goes, I believe, from top down, right? So going down the order, it's going to see those rules in that order. And so anti-lockout rule, it looks like we're good. It looks like Callie should be able to see our domain controller. So, or any of these boxes. So let's go back to our Windows machine. Let's, this one is where my RAM starts to slow down just a little bit because we're streaming. What the heck? No, not that. Not Bing. I don't want Bing. Yes, that one. That is what I want. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, we got the 10.80.80.7 on this network. Now, if I was pen testing, of course, or taking notes, we'd write this down. I hate having to go back to my VM. But let's remember, we'll know it's on the 80.80.7 network. Let's see if we can ping Callie. Ping, and I know that's 10.0.2. It's seeing Callie, so it is seeing our Linux box. So that means they can talk to each other. Let's just probe a little bit, shall we? Shall we just probe a little bit? Let's just see where we're at. Is this nice and big? I tried to make it big earlier for everybody. Go. Okay. Oops. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Okay, let's see. Make sure we can ping it here. So I've been running some ping requests on the network already, but we know they can see each other. I always like to make sure they can see each other, even from my Callie box, in case there's just something screwy before I ever do kind of a, was that 7? See, all right. Let's just do a little, a little Nmap scan, right? If you're not familiar with Nmap, open up your Linux box. I shouldn't say always. Whenever I'm going to use a tool, a lot of times, even if I've used it before, I'll still go into the help menu just to, kind of how the app works and how the tool works, right? Nobody's new to nobody is new to Nmap, but again, there's a lot of good information. So when I type up this little thing here, you'll understand kind of what we're doing. So we're going to just do a regular Nmap scan. We're going to do it for threads of 4, right? So we're just looking for those first 4 threads. So we're not going to hang for too long. I'm going to put in TAC A, and we'll scroll down here just a second. TAC A enables operating system detection, version detection, script scanning, and does a trace route, right? And so that's what I usually do. Now, if I was running this on a full like a full subnet, I might not do Nmap out the gate. And the reason is Nmap takes a lot of time, and it's not necessarily quite what I'm after. When I'm first hitting a subnet, or I'm hitting gonna get do some enumerating of a landscape, I typically will actually ping first, right? And this is something that John Strand talks about: ping, port, parse. So you can do a lot with just a ping scan to see where things are, and then we'll run a port scan, right? So if I was going to ping a network, I could, let's see if fping will work on this network. I believe it will. So we're doing an fping, and I can't remember if fping has a help menu. Let's see if it does. It does. We saw in that previous one, fping, right? We're looking at our options. And what are some of the options? TAC 4 is IPv4, TAC 6, B is bytes, count off, send N pings, right? So we get some idea of what this ping is going to do. And what do we have that one? Was it AG? AG, there it is. Now let's run this on our network. Oh, there we go. Okay, and so instead of doing an Nmap scan, Lazaro says, I remember doing Nmap for the first PJP for the subnet. It took like 15 minutes. You and me both, brother. You and me both. I did the Nmap scan, and I was like, oh my gosh. All right, so we've done a ping scan. So we're just starting with a basic ping scan. Let's see what TAC A and TAC G do. A is alive, so we know that we are pinging for alive. And then G looks like, where's G? Because I'm not sure. And when I'm not sure, we consult the menu. P, do you guys see G? It's going to drive me crazy because it's a thing. All right, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But at any rate, we've pinged this network. Now, I know because I set it up, and we've all done a little bit of networking together, right? We know that 1080.80.1 is most likely not the domain controller potentially, but maybe that's just our maybe that's just our gateway router, right? The VLAN gateway router that we talked about that we set up. 1080.80.2, that's interesting. Well, now let's just do a basic Nmap scan on that, right? We're gonna do P-P. I want to do this for the first 4 threads. What else do we want to do? Let's go ahead and do all, so we can see kind of everything that's going on, because I know there's 3 machines. And so we're not going to run this scan. We're just going to run this on one box and not a full subnet. All right, so let's do TAC A. And I think that's good. Oh, hold on. I got overzealous and my headphones came out. There we go. I remember playing in a band and I was rocking, and one time my guitar cable fell out. And then we know that we're going to 10.80.80.2, right? And a lot of times if I was running a pen test or doing a lab, I would probably actually output this all to a text file somewhere maybe in my downloads folder. We'll just leave it here, and we're going to call it livelab.txt. Okay, so what that's going to do, it's going to take this scan and it's going to put that into output all of that information into a scan, right? That's a pretty good looking Nmap. Let's run it and see what happens. And it may take a minute because we asked it to do the full scan, but we'll see what it comes up with. I'm going to catch up on chat. I got 1 minute left. Oh boy. Not going to get to run any attacks tonight, but that's okay. It'll save it up for maybe some tomorrow. I'll probably go live tomorrow night practicing. My family leaves, and I'll start the PNPT either Saturday morning or Sunday morning. I may go live Saturday and practice all of my attacks, and then go hit the exam bright and early Sunday morning. Or maybe I'll not. Okay, my love, we are wrapping up, and I am waiting for a port scan, which doesn't necessarily concern you or that you care, but after that, I will be racing out of here to join you and our daughter, whose name I won't say because I'm on stream, for a rousing time of Mario Party and soup. Isn't output all for output all formats? You put them in a directory. I guess you could. I just put them here on my home where I'm at now. I could have had that go somewhere else, but I just put it where we're at for the purpose of the lab. I hear my daughter crying, folks. She's my number one priority. Let's let this scan, give it a few more seconds. Let's actually kill it. Let's run it again and maybe not. Maybe we won't do it with the all. Take care, all. Justin Rohr says, yep, I'm starting. My ADD is kicking in. I can hear my daughter crying more than anything with my ladies back there. And so we may conclude tonight's lab. But hopefully this gave you some inspiration regarding how you can set yours up. I hope that you can find those resources. Remember, hopefully somebody found them in chat. We didn't link those in chat. So let me minimize this. Go back to this guy. Remember, this lab I put together was from benheater.com, benheater.com. Go to that, and you can pretty much navigate that website. Find this lab, build it yourself, document it, pen test it, add onto it, put a SIM onto it, put some extra vulnerable boxes on them, put some more dual-homed boxes on it, get used to pivoting, privilege escalation, if you're a red teamer, okay? Matthew Pelkey. Have a good night, and everyone, thanks, Slay Security Plus fam. Until the next time, I'm Jesse J. You all make up Slay, and I hope that you all have a wonderful Thursday, and hopefully I'll catch you for the daily morning cyber threat brief with Dr. Jerry Ozier, Simply Cyber Diet. Find him on YouTube. I'll see you in the morning. Take care of yourselves, fam. Until next time, and don't forget, we'll be